Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
Do you ever get a song stuck in your head while you're sleeping?
Like in a dream?
No, I asked Will, and he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's typically in twilight, like if you wake up in the morning and you're kind of like going back to sleep, but not quite.
Oh, okay. Not that I can remember like specifically, but I mean, maybe.
Happens to me constantly. And
what song you got? It's going in there now.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
It happens to me constantly, and it's a particular kind of hell because I'm like not deep asleep that I can move off it, but it's like I'm asleep enough that I just can't stop. I'm trapped. And yesterday, I had the Rural Juror stuck in my head.
Oh, no.
So all morning, I was like, the Irma Lerman Merman murder. Turn the bird's word learn. The whir and the purr of a twirler girl. She would the world. Word demure. The insurers allure for valor were pure carry whirrer. One fervid whirl over her turgid error. Rural Juror. I learned it like 2 or 3 years ago because I wanted it as a party trick.
Oh, sure. Well, you got it now.
It's just this like slurred masterpiece. Like it actually makes, have you ever looked at the lyrics? It makes a decent amount of sense.
I believe it. I bet Jeff Richman wrote it.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that it was a song.
Oh, yeah. She sings that at the end of one of the episodes.
Oh, yeah. No, I never remembered that.
Now I can't stop again. I just have Irma Lerman Merman murder.
Turn the bird's word lurid, the whir and the purr of a twirler girl. She would the world, word demure. The insurers a law for valor, what pure carry warra. One fervent whirl over her turgid error. Rural juror, rural juror. I will never forget you, rural juror. I'll always be glad I met you, rural juror.
Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show. On today's episode, we are going to talk about Season 2, Part 3 of Sabrina.
2/3/3/2. We're in a very
1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1.
A very clue moment on this season of Sabrina.
It is. This is Season 2. This is the second round of production. Part 1 and Part 2 were all filmed in one go. And then Part 3 and Part 4 are filmed in one go. So this is the second round of production.
I definitely know that you're right, and I definitely believe you, but that's not the way that they are presenting it.
Yeah, no, this feels like Season 3, and I'm glad they're doing it because it's like, we're not necessarily getting 2 a year, but we're getting like a full year in between is too long for a show like this.
Yeah, okay.
It's too pulpy and too like campy that it's like, we would forget everything. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like, I would gather we're going to get Part 4 by October of this year.
It says 2020 on IMDb.
But it's definitely the first part of Season 2 because the budget's upped. And
yeah,
I can't tell in a good way. In not a lot. I would be weary of a lot. But I knew we were going to hell, and I was kind of terrified because I was like, so help me God, if they portray hell as like a red room or like a cave. I was like, we're going to need some grandeur. But, and I think what they might have done is I think they might have pulled an American Gods where they cut the last 2 episodes and dispersed that budget throughout because this is only 8 episodes as opposed to the 10.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think that might be what they've done.
So they just took the extra money and split it amongst the rest. Yeah. Because
I think I've said this before, but the Easter episode of American Gods was the budget of 2 episodes.
Right.
That thing was a masterpiece. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yes, so we do go to hell, and it's pretty spectacular, to be honest. It still is relatively restrained. I mean, it as expensive as the show is, and it is expensive. This isn't Game of Thrones season 6. You know what I mean?
I also think it is at least interesting, and at least it's not a hell I've seen before.
I'm loving. It's my favorite part. The mythos of this show is my favorite part of it, because it's like what I want from it. It scratches the itch that I got from Hercules and Xena as a kid, where it's like we're always bringing in magical MacGuffin after magical MacGuffin, but they're real.
Yeah,
it's not like it is so funny how much I talk about Once Upon a Time, but it's
I know we really do bring it up constantly.
Well, it's a foundation. It's like a cornerstone of entertainment in this part of my life, for better and worse. You know what I mean? And so it's like, they're not like the sword of truth. Like, it's like Herod. Oh, well. Okay. So I watched episode 3.
Oh, yeah. I haven't watched episode 3 yet.
Confident that I was going to be able to get through this without talking about it. And literally the first thing out of my mouth was something from episode 3. Yeah. When my SNL didn't tape last night, I was like, fuck it. I'm watching Sabrina.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can improvise. I can't improvise. Yeah. King Herod's crown is in episode 3.
Okay. All right.
So that's a thing from history / mythology / the Bible. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing that I love. Like in season 1, the psychopomps. It's like, that's a thing in Greek mythology. And in episode 1 of the season, they go to hell, and specifically they're trying to get to Pandemonium. And that's the place in hell where the demons live.
Okay. It's
a real thing. And I love that stuff about it. And so you were saying the portrayal of it's nice, because it's somewhere in between, you know, Bible and Greek mythology and Dante's Inferno. Like, it's kind of like,
yeah, it does fit, because like Madame Satan, Lilith's little like lair or whatever, does have a very like Hades and Persephone feel to it. Like, it's very grand, and it's like there's gold and red
and the stained glass.
Yeah, it's a lot of really interesting stuff, and that it's like I've seen parts of it before, but I've never seen all of it. And even like the Red Road and like the beach and stuff, it was all very, very interesting. I dug it.
Well, I knew the second we got to the beach, because that was like a digital vista, and we did not have that in part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And so I was like, cool, we're dealing with slightly larger things, and we need that. Like, we need to feel like this is a passable hell. You know what I mean? It's like, I still cannot make heads or tails of the hierarchy of this show. The problems that I've had from the beginning are even more so now, because I'm like, who's good and who's bad? Like, I don't understand the hierarchy. I don't understand the like, who's in control? Who's in charge here? And
yeah, because I totally agree with you, because one of the things that we were doing last year was like trying to get rid of Father Blackwood, because he was doing like misogynistic sexist crap. But now the women are all in charge, including Lilith in the underworld, and they still are beholden to men in some way. I agree with you. No, I was very confused by that as well. I was like, why are they all like pussyfooting around? They're the ones in charge now. Like, Zelda and Hilda are like still like not sure if they should pray to Satan or Lilith. And I'm like, bitches, you're in charge. Pray to Lilith.
Yeah. Well, we ended in a very like alliance place with Lilith, where we understood her. And it's like, I was expecting her to be a good guy, but she's also still somehow a bad guy. I
think she's still grayer than anything.
Well, sure. But it's like, I can't, because we met angels, which I wanted, you know, I wanted that. And I'm all for it. Like, their angle, at least in part 2, was that God is real, angels are real, and they're dicks. Like, they're terrible. And so I'm like, where is goodness in this world?
Yeah.
Like, where is benevolence in this world? Because so far, hell seems terrible.
Yeah.
And what we know about heaven, I don't want to go there either.
Yeah.
So it's
that is the biggest issue with this show in general, is that it wants us to be sympathetic to the witches and the satanic people. And so we are, but within the show and within the society, they are also bad.
Mhm.
So it's like you can't win for losing, kind of, and it's a weird thing when you like because at this point we are only supposed to be sympathetic to the Spellmans and so sometimes the Weird Sisters and then Sabrina's human friends, and it's like, but that goes literally against the whole hierarchy
Heaven
of
and
your
hell.
show, like you said, exactly, because it's like if the heavenly people are bad to the witches, but the witch people are bad to the witches, then who are we actually, which side are we actually supposed to be rooting for? Because aesthetically, I like the hell side a lot better, but I don't know.
But but again, it's like, because in the second episode, so we don't think we're going to do every episode coverage. We're going to do two every 2 episodes, because in the second episode where Sabrina, you know, she is currently Queen of Hell. She had to claim it because the Morningstar name, it's her birthright. The 3 kings of hell wouldn't accept Lilith's rule.
Right.
And there's a prince somewhere. I'm fine with him. He's distractingly good looking. Like
it's like he was made in a lab.
He's so good looking that it's bad. Like it's off-putting.
Yeah.
And Caliban, which to my knowledge his roots is in Shakespeare.
Okay.
I don't think he's a mythological character, but
he's
in Shakespeare,
evidently the Prince of Hell,
which I'm sort of fine with.
Sure.
I kind of the notion that hell would have, again, like, what is the hierarchy here? Because who has power over who? And so Caliban basically has laid claim to the throne that Lilith currently has, and so Sabrina has taken it in. Because, for instance, like, okay, Uncle Jesse was in hell, and it's like, that's terrible because he was a good person and his sin was that he was gay. And it's a world where it's like the witches are gay all the time, but that's going to condemn them to eternal suffering.
Well,
and
it seemed like the excuse was that Satan just decided to take him. Like, he shouldn't have been there.
Oh.
But Satan was like, no, I just want him for whatever.
Because, like, Tommy was there too, and I was like, why the fuck is Tommy in hell? And at that point, I thought maybe they were fake. Like, it was like a Mockingjay situation. But then at the end of the episode, Lilith put them back in heaven.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, it's very weird, and it's like, so, because at this point, it feels like we are supposed to think that Satan, like, Lucifer is evil, and the man demons in hell are evil, and then apparently everybody else is like fine, maybe. Again, I agree with you. It's confusing.
And I cannot stress how much I still love the show, because it scratches that itch. But it's like, I kind of do have to just turn my brain off and accept what they're telling me, because in episode 2, as like the Queen of Hell, Sabrina had to collect 2 souls. She had to drag 2 people to hell. And it's like, one of them was bad and one of them was good. And so I was sort of like, how does the devil have power, to send someone to heaven? That was confusing to me. And again, furthermore, with what we know about heaven, why is that the better place?
Yeah, I really am on your team, and I don't understand. It's one of the things that I think The Good Place is so good about exploring, the differences between heaven and hell and who deserves to be where and everything like that. And I think in between all the teen drama, there's like not enough time to properly explore it on Sabrina, but they're doing it just enough that it pings my brain every time.
The key is we need a proper, like I said, where is benevolence? We need somebody to represent, other than Sabrina, to represent goodness. Yeah. Even if the angels, like, maybe that's just a faction of angels, or maybe they were, I don't know, but it's like we still have Mrs. Meeks. Did you see her, or was she in episode 3 that I watched?
Which one is Mrs. Meeks?
The secretary?
Oh, no, then she's in episode 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not really a spoiler, but she was there. And remember, the first time we met her, I pegged her as an angel because the meek shall inherit the earth, and she's sweet, and she is. And so it's like, somewhere someone needs beatitude. You know what I mean? Like, someone needs to be blessed in order for any of this to work for me.
I agree.
On a fundamental level. And I have faith we're maybe working to that place, but it's like, to separate the dogma from Christianity is difficult to do, especially in this climate. Like, because if we were to bring in God, or God forbid, Jesus, it's like, it takes us to a religious place that the show doesn't need.
Yeah, because right
You know what
now
I mean?
it's like it's not even like a legitimate Church of Satan thing. It's like a totally made up Church of Satan thing. I agree with you.
It's fascinating,
It is
but
fascinating.
it like boggles my mind
Yeah.
watching it.
I agree because it does feel a little bit like the writer's room doesn't know exactly who's in charge. Like that's the thing that I'm confused and interested about.
Because it seems like what we're doing with this season is it seems like Sabrina is going to make over Hell. So there's going to be almost a polarizing swap.
Yeah.
Where Hell is like the like rad underground club and Heaven's like a stuffy like
sure, like a country club.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that I could understand. It's like that I could get places, but it's like to have the gay man crucified was so off-putting to me. And not just because I'm gay. It's like I can accept a reality where that's the case, because that was the case in Coven for American Horror Story, was that God was as wrathful as the Old Testament claims.
Sure.
And I'm like, if that's the world we live in, fine. I'm totally down for that. But it's like that's my biggest issue so far. And like I said, having seen episode 3, we'll get to it in a minute, but I think we might be going in that sort of a direction. So I love all of our people still. Both Theo and Nick Scratch got added to the cast, but
sweet.
somehow Dorcas didn't.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Justice for Dorcas.
Because Dorcas is great, and I think she's super fun, but...
And like I said, she's literally in the opening credits, but
Yeah.
her name doesn't appear.
Yeah, I mean, I do also love Nick Scratch, so...
Yeah, so... I still can't with Nick Scratch. He's
Really?
fine. He's fine. He's fine. I totally accept him, but he just... yeah.
My biggest issue is that Sabrina continues to be a fucking idiot.
Yeah, she really does. That to me is like...
Maybe she is... I mean, I know we like Kiernan Shipka a lot, but like maybe she is the Archie of Sabrina.
Yeah, she's Jen. So my friend Jen loves the show, and so she's been texting me about it. She wants me to be watching it with her, and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah,
because I was like, if you want to wait, and she doesn't wait for things.
Yeah,
and so she was like, "Is Sabrina a bad actress?" And I was like, well, I said my thing where I was like, I think she's a fine actress.
Well, I mean. I think
she's making choices.
Well, I think that Kiernan Shipka is excellent, but when you're on this kind of show, you have to make choices. Because, like, I don't believe for 1 minute that Kiernan Shipka was a better actress at the age of 10 than she is now, and she did some, like, remarkable things on Mad Men. I think it's the type of show where she, has to be kind of stupid. You know what I mean?
There's a campiness to it. Yeah. And like I said, for me, it's kind of like she's like an old friend at this point. I'm like, classic Sabrina. Exactly. So I guess you're right. That is very Archie like.
Yeah.
But because the problem with Sabrina, it's not that she can't think several steps ahead, because she can. It's almost that she doesn't care.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you, because it to me seems more like she's really mostly concerned with the immediate problem, which is rescuing Nick for some reason. Like, I feel like it would have been okay, like, if
sat out a season.
Not even if he sat out a season, or, like, even a couple of episodes, but I think it would have been okay if he, like, was just, like, down there doing something else. I don't know. I don't know what I would have preferred, but...
Sacrifices like that have to be made when you're dealing with stakes this high.
Well, sure. And so, like, the biggest problem for me is that... And again, this goes to like the Archie thing, or like basically the lead. If you're the lead of your TV show, you're probably not the best part of it. So the
Luke Skywalker syndrome, in spite of what every Star Wars fan apparently feels now.
Exactly. So basically, my point is she is single-minded in a way that ends up making her stupid, because she just was like, I've got to get Nick immediately. And it was like, maybe you should actually make a plan instead of like dipping yourself in dead body water and taking all your human friends to hell.
I wouldn't venture through the gates of hell on a whim.
No, exactly. And it was like very immediate. And she was like, well, we've got to do it. And I'm going to do it now. And it's just like, I don't agree with you.
Do we though?
Yeah, exactly. And her friends, God love them, are like, we're with you, Brina. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
We're watching it, and this is one of the ones that I'm afraid we're going to lose Will soon. He's still watching it. I don't know to what extent he's enjoying it, but something happened. I don't remember what. And I literally went out loud, this show is so stupid. And you guys just started laughing.
It is.
As long it's in the Riverdale place, and that's fitting as a Riverdale spinoff, where it's like, as long as it's fun, I'm on. Like, I'm along for the ride. I watched 7 seasons of True Blood.
Yeah.
You know, like, my
100%.
tolerance.
And some of it was not fun at all.
Yeah. I wish that they would actually rebalance the show. Like, I wish the stakes would realign or something.
Sure.
It needs a realignment somewhere.
Well, and also...
hopefully that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and one of the weird things to me, too, is that Sabrina is somehow... Now she's Queen of Hell, and she's somehow doing that, going to the Academy of Unseen Arts and Baxter High full time. And
more committed to her schoolwork than ever.
And now she's a cheerleader too. So we're adding like extracurriculars on top of that. And I just am like, what? I know that it doesn't matter. I know that it's all ridiculous. The high school parts, the school parts don't mean anything, but it is very off-putting when so many things are happening at once.
Say what you will about Glee, but we owe Glee a debt because it reintroduced silly musical numbers.
Yeah.
Well, frankly, it flat out introduced silly musical numbers to the medium of television.
Yep.
And I love it. I know it probably chaps so many people's asses, but I don't care. I'll get some bomb.
Yeah, like I don't know. All of these teenage girls singing "Tricky" was like life changing to me.
Yeah,
so.
I love it so much that there's just these big production numbers in teen soap operas now.
It's great.
It's delicious.
In 1 week, we got "Tricky" and "Cherry Bomb." It's amazing. What a time to be alive.
Yeah. Truly the golden age. Prudence and Ambrose are on their own little side quest, and somehow Prudence has gotten hotter.
Yeah, it's bananas.
It's like, it seems unquantifiable. Like, Daddy Gabrielle.
I mean, same for Ambrose.
Yeah, sure, but no, I'm Prudence.
I mean, I'm obviously more for Prudence, but I think Ambrose is super hot.
See, I'm a Harvey Kinkle kind of guy.
I know you are. And I'm a Nick Scratch kind of girl, so we don't fight.
Yeah.
I would fight you for Prudence, though.
Her New Orleans thing, her like off-the-shoulder slinky dress, and which I gotta give Taddy a shout out because I did not know that that's a voice she puts on.
Yeah.
She does not sound like that when she talks, and she's good at it. And apparently, and I don't know behind the scenes stuff, so I'm not gonna like make it a thing, but apparently she is doing her own hair.
No, I think you can say that and you can call people out because it's like a huge problem in the industry that Black women have to bring their own wigs and do their own hair.
Well, because I'm like, she better be getting paid for that.
She's absolutely not getting paid for that.
No, she better be getting a bonus. So it's called something, but when you're paid for doing extra.
Oh, okay.
Because that's insane. Like, if it's a choice she made, fine. But my understanding was they were just like, well, like, because I know for a fact, actually, the finger waves were her idea.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, I don't think that it would ever be someone's choice to do one of the most difficult hairstyles.
Yeah.
Especially with such short hair.
And you're right. That is a huge blind spot in, well, the world, let alone the industry. But yeah, I just had to really give her a round of applause there.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's also really good at playing like multiple things at the same time because she's still on the 100 and it's a totally different character.
Mm-hmm. And then her tartan. That's what that word is, right?
It's just tartan, but yeah.
Tartan. Okay, her tartan. That was great too. I think I preferred the New Orleans.
I prefer the New Orleans one, but her Scotland dress was also very good. We
still have Lucifer slinking around. That fucking scene with him and Nick Scratch wrestling.
Yeah.
I love that they had pants. It was like...
Well, because it was like their minds wrestling.
Yeah.
It was I agree. I mean, you can't have full frontal on this TV show.
Oh, I understand, but still, it's I
agree.
How is that the bridge too far?
Yeah.
but it's not all the baby eating. No.
Yeah, no, not all the cannibalism and praise Satan.
Oh, and then Theo got himself a little makeover. Looks cute. And has a potential love interest that I'm not sure I trust. But
yeah, I'm not 100% about it either. I also Theo was like too ready to like help drag people to hell.
Theo's ride or die.
He was like, come on, let's go. And he just like jumped out the car and like started going. And I was like, dude, I was like, cool it a little.
That's the stuff that works for me, strangely.
Totally. No, 100%. It was like really good. I just was like, I can't believe how immediately Theo was like down to clown with Satan.
And I'm not sure what we're doing with Mrs. Wardwell because she is herself. Yeah. So it's like Michelle Gomez is now effectively playing two characters.
Yeah.
And they explained it away by she liked the skin.
She was like, I got used to it, fine. Which I guess, I mean, it works for me.
I mean, I don't want to not see Michelle Gomez as Lilith.
Of course. Could you imagine having Mrs. Wardwell back and then recasting Lilith?
Oh, God. Yeah,
that would be horrible. No, Michelle Gomez.
I still want Adam back.
Yeah. I like that,
And, I mean, stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. Because I don't want it to get cyclical, but it's like, it feels like Mrs. Wardwell is going to be on a journey this season as well. So
yeah, I'm really interested. I was going to say not a lot of like actual plot stuff happened in these first two episodes. It was a lot of like arranging deck chairs kind of, but
get to episode 3.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was assuming the next two were going to be actually something. So, but I enjoy the deck chair arranging. So
I think that's a good starting place for us.
Yeah.
And I won't venture ahead anymore because I clearly can't do it.
Okay.
So I was mad SNL didn't tape.
No, I get it.
So, which also I did get around to it and it was very funny.
Good,
so if we get a chance sometime this week, if I come over, we should watch it because it was Adam Driver and Halsey and they put on a good show.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. We'll check in after the next two.
We might have to transition back into episodic coverage because
you did mention,
it's our bread and butter. This is our brand. So, I mean, we like Magicians in Riverdale. We're doing episodic, and I was like, this has ended up I have a lot to talk about.
Okay,
from these past two episodes. So, and as you remember, I had watched the third one already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I was like already trying to talk about that. But the third one is Heavy as the Crown. My God, I just remembered. Heavy is the Crown. It's too good. Like, too entertaining. We conspicuously have Mr. Kinkle back. They're making sure that he's a character. And Sabrina, like, fixed him, right?
I mean, I think she kind of fixed him, but I'm not excited that we have Mr. Kinkle back because I think he's just terrible.
That's kind of the thing. I was going to be like, what? Because I still have bad feelings towards him, but I'm like, well, is that not fair of me if he's like rehabilitated now? Or
he was still drinking something.
Yeah. Well, then I was going to say, is it not rehabilitation if the person doesn't take on the responsibility themselves?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It was odd. And he's now dating Medusa, so...
Well, so in that case, maybe he'll be turned to stone before we know it.
Yeah, well... to jump to the end of episode 4, no. Because I'm a little bit mad at the two players they've tapped out.
I mean, they'll be back, but I agree with you.
I do find it strange, and because he was being a good dad with the whole Harvey and Roz thing, which I'm told
he was.
Yeah.
Yo, he was. That was very nice. He was just like, "You've got protection, right, son?" And Harvey was like scandalized. And I just was like,
that is a metaphor for this show, where it's like, this is really the epitome of having your cake and eat it too.
Well, okay, yes, because I kept getting very confused because I had thought that Sabrina and Harvey had sex, and then I thought about it, and I was like, no, they didn't. But then I had thought that Sabrina and Nick had sex on Lupercalia, but apparently she's still saving herself for Harvey?
Well, that was the accusation that was hurled at her at the end of episode 4. But
but I just was like, wow, I really just assumed they were all fucking each other. I guess it's like everyone but Sabrina. I
think I remember now that her and Nick did not have sex on Lupercalia.
Okay.
I think they made a point of it because loss of virginity is a plot point for a show like this. And especially seen through such feminist eyes, I think.
And I think also especially like the care has to be taken in the way that she loses her virginity to either of her love interests. Like, is it going to be Harvey, the like actual sweet guy who's like maybe not right for her, or is it going to be the actual Satanist who's maybe not right for her? Like, or is it going to be Prudence?
I was literally holding that joke in, and then I just moved on. I was going to be like, it's going to be Prudence, but which I mean, everybody's I was going to be like everybody's bisexual, but at this point they're pansexual. I love it. It's so in the year 2020, I guess the show premiered in 2018, but it's like we're finally at a place where a show is wantonly throwing about male bisexuality, where it's
wanton is the right way to describe it too. They are just literally tossing it around. We're like, because oh god, what the fuck is his name? The
Nick
cousin.
Scratch?
No.
Oh.
Nick is definitely Chance Perdomo. What the fuck is his name?
Ambrose.
Ambrose is definitely bisexual, but again, in addition to the bisexuality, they are also having sex with like creatures.
Yeah, that's why I went into the pansexuality, because I was like, well, and we're dealing with Theo and stuff, but it's like, because to my understanding, pan is kind of everything. Here's the difference, though. We were introduced to Ambrose as gay, as coded gay, or bi, but still with the emphasis on the
that he likes men.
Where it's more important and more impressive for Nick is because he's positioned as a hunky male lead of the show. And I mean, it's something that Gossip Girl flirted with, but couldn't even manage. And, 10 years later, we're finally there where he can very casually request a male and female lover. And it isn't even addressed. Like it's not acknowledged. So that's just huge.
Like Sabrina is more angry about the cheating than she is that one of them's a man. Like she doesn't even mention that one of them is a male sex demon. It's just that he's seeing sex demons at all.
It's massive.
And I think you're right. The fact that he's positioned as a love interest for our main character heroine and is having sex with a male entity, I think you're right. That is the important part, because there were always implications that like Chuck was very open on Gossip Girl, to go back to that. But the fact is that he was never a viable love interest for Serena, and he was only mildly a viable love interest for Blair. And the only reason that went as far as it was is because the two actors had amazing chemistry. So it's like he was sort of on the fringes in a way that Nick Scratch is like smack in the middle.
I mean, it's like if Archie had like a one night stand, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's a pretty big deal. So, and remember, we did have that like Judas kiss from Archie and Joaquin last year that the show handled it really well. Archie didn't freak out, like there wasn't gay panic. So
there is, just to give you a slight spoiler with no actual context, there is an episode of this season of Sabrina called The Judas Kiss. So we'll see how that goes.
Nick Scratch, man. If one thing has been true, if one thing is true, it's that I have always appreciated his character. I think he's great.
I'll kill you dead. All the way dead. I have liked him from the beginning, and you have been a very party pooper about it.
Yeah, I was really attempting to keep...
So you're into him now?
Yeah.
Okay.
The scene he had with Sabrina in episode 4 was chilling.
Yeah, it was also like heart-wrenching for her specifically.
To the bone.
Yeah.
I was shocked watching it because the show did the thing where it got so real.
Yeah.
And it caught me off guard because I suddenly understood what we were dealing with. And Nick has been reeling from the trauma of what he went through, which I've made light of, and the show has made light of.
Yeah, in a way that, like, we didn't realize how actually serious it was for him, because the stakes are not usually quite that high on this show.
But when you say it, I mean, he was dragged to hell.
Yeah.
He was imprisoned and presumably made a sex toy. I mean,
yeah. Well, I also presume he was made a sex toy, but only because of the very specific language that Nick Scratch is using.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not sure if that's actually where the show is going, but Nick Scratch keeps saying things like, I can feel your father's residue inside me, and that is like a lot.
Well, and also Lilith, though. I mean, she's the one that had him in the collar, chained to her throne. And so it's like how I mentioned that this show is a very have its cake and eat it too kind of thing. It's like Lilith is a likable character, and that is a hefty allegation, and that is a hefty thing that I don't think the show is going to really...
Because I think Michelle Gomez is such a fan favorite and Lilith is so fun, I think they're not going to go all the way there with her. But I think because Lucifer is already villainous in our minds, I think they are focusing more on how he affected Nick than how Lilith affected Nick. Because honestly, I mean, not to make light of assault or anything, but like... I would rather be assaulted by Lilith, if we're being perfectly honest. I would rather be dragged to hell and made Lilith's sex slave.
I mean, I'm going to walk away from the conversation. So there was something about it that I didn't take his ordeal quite as seriously because I was perceiving his behavior as bratty and brooding. And he had the club foot, which was kind of cool. I'm there with it. He tried to like cut it off and stuff, but basically, what happened at the end of episode 4, he was like, I was tortured and raped by your dad for you, and you're not worth it. And I was like, that
it was very rough. And I think, I don't know. It was pretty bad. I was like, that's a fight you can't come back from. Like, what if you work through this and you regret that?
They both were great, but Kiernan especially was really good. And because she was trying to help, but she doesn't know how. And I like that she's not a untouchable hero. Like, I like the show knows that she's annoying sometimes. And it's like, she's kind
like a fucking idiot a lot of the time, where we often are like, come on, Sabrina.
Zelda called her the fuck out, where Zelda was like, you have a savior complex. Like, we get so used to the hell of it all that I like that every so often the show is like, it was hell, though. Like, remember what we're dealing with.
Remember that it was actual torture as hell. But again, that goes back to the things that we were talking about when we did our first episode of the season, which is, what is actually the goal then? Because you would imagine the goal of these Satanists is to wind up in hell. Is that not where they want to go? They don't want to go to heaven. What do they want to happen to them? Because hell is apparently terrible and they won't be treated well in heaven. So like, what is actually the end game here?
Well, maybe it's the whole like better to sit at the right hand of the devil than...
Sure, that could be. That could definitely be.
We learned some stuff and the show is going very interesting and, in my opinion, necessary places. I touched on it in our very early coverage of episode 1, but Wicca is a religion. Paganism is a religion. These are real beliefs and lifestyles and people out there, and they get, unfairly maligned and like dismissed and stuff. And so a lot of times when a show like this comes on, it's actually offensive. My mother is openly friends with a woman who's a witch, and she's got a good sense of humor. She doesn't get like super mad about it, but she's like, that's not real.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting that at this point the show made a distinction between satanic witches and pagans.
Yeah. Yes, but they are then also positioning the pagans as villains.
Sure. But again, it's like, that's the first time that I've really seen that in this type of media, that I've seen that distinction made.
Sure, yeah.
And so I think it's interesting. I mean, I feel like there's no scenario where they don't end on the same side.
I would hope so.
I mean, if they're pitted against each other at episode 4, then I feel like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, there's only one way to go. Yeah.
And I really like all the pagans. I think that they're interesting. They are the carnival that showed up in like the end of episode 1 or something. And I already forgot his name. The satyr is fucking hot.
He is hot. Yeah.
He's Audra McDonald's husband.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
And I loved when Roz could like actually see him.
I know. His makeup was so good.
I asked Jen, she's watched it all, and she told me no, but I was like, is there mermaids? Because one of the carnies is a mermaid. And she was like, we don't see her as a mermaid, so.
Interesting.
But yeah, so we have Medusa. We have... Okay, so his name is Pan, I think. And
yeah, it is.
Also, fucking Robin. His name is Robin Goodfellow.
Yeah, I know. I was like, are you allowed to have both of those things?
Yes. Well, because also somehow I forgot how to spell the word satyr. So I thought on a whole, because I was like, I started with SATR, and I was like, that's not right. And then I was like at SATAR, and it took me a while. But I never realized, growing up being the mythology buff, that satyrs and fawns are different.
Oh.
Fawns are goat, and satyrs are horse. It's like horse legs and a horse tail.
Oh.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then we have Circe. I am unsure if these people are supposed to be those specific mythical figures.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Although we do have literal Dorian Gray, so I don't know.
Yeah. So it's like, is this actual Pan? Is this actual Circe? Is this the actual Medusa? Like, or are these people emulating it in like a Harry Potter kind of way, where it's like, I'm named after this mythical.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Well,
or like inspired by.
He is definitely a Pan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he is a fawn or a satyr or whatever. But I mean, is she actually Medusa? She's something.
I mean, she's got the power.
Yeah.
So. But I'm like, so is she like 2,000 years old? Or, yeah, so that's something, and maybe that's me being a little too nitpicky. It's not a complaint. I just want to know.
Yeah.
Because I wrote down a note in the middle of the third episode, the carnival episode, where I was like, why is Robin always wearing a hat? I was like, he has absolutely got horns under there.
Almost definitely, yeah. And I'm like so disappointed because poor Theo. I mean, I knew it was coming. We knew he was suspicious, but like...
But again, I think it's going to bode well. I think if we're hitting the suspicion this early on, I think...
Yeah, I mean, you might be right. You definitely might be right.
Although I guess I made this up. I guess this doesn't exist, but I hard shipped Theo and Billy. I thought that they had a meet cute. And
they kind of did, yeah.
Okay, and it appears to have gone nowhere. And to add further confusion and frustration, Billy was Billy on Riverdale. He was the same human.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They didn't just hire the same actor to play a different character.
No.
So I did read, because we've talked, on and off about a crossover, and Roberto basically said there are currently no plans for it, but he said we would have to be stupid to not do it. Yeah. He said it's just a matter of how we would do it. And the two ideas he threw down was the Riverdale gang investigating a haunted house in Greendale.
Ooh.
And it being the Spellman Manor.
Yeah.
And or they might do a made-for-TV movie for Netflix where the two of them combine. And it would be based on an Archie spinoff.
Well, all I want to say to that is that at some point the Blossoms owned Herod's crown, according to Sabrina. And so I need the Blossoms to be involved. Also, Will made an interesting point, which is Agatha meant to be a Blossom? Because she looks just like Cheryl.
Dorcas,
sorry. Mm-hmm. Yes. Is Dorcas meant to be a Blossom? Like an abandoned Blossom?
I just did the kombucha, like,
yeah, right?
Yeah, I've wondered that, because she's was there a female bastard? Bastard, so.
I don't think I'm not sure there is a female. I think it's all the same. Bastardess.
Bastress. Yeah, that sounds right. Well, she's not a cast member, so we won't, I don't know.
And now she's turned to stone, so who the fuck knows?
The Herod's crown. That is so funny. The crown itself, it was excavated from Herodium by an Italian archaeologist in 1962, but actually it was excavated by an American warlock, Edward Robinson, in 1838. From there, the crown changed hands from Jake Huseman, Aleister Crowley, to American soldier Private Benjamin Blossom, who recovered the crown from Hitler's bunker in 1945 and brought it back to Riverdale.
So, like, who would have guessed there were such heroic people in the Blossom family tree?
I guess. I don't know. But on top of that, the crown is one thing. Sure, fine. Sure. But they also brought King Herod's body?
Yeah, and then they like stuck him in a tree.
I just assumed that was a guardian, like a weird.
Me too, but then they all just kept saying it was King Herod, and then they like re-killed him, and I was like, geez.
I'm like the King Herod, like the historical biblical figure.
Yeah.
Like, sure. I just think that's hysterical that, you know, in an episode of Riverdale when they're running through the woods and stuff, it's like, you know, Jesus. It's like, guess what? Like, I don't know. Wild. I'm excited to see what the other two are. Part of me is like, it's going to be like the Holy Grail, but another part of me is like, I don't know. I'm curious to see if we do something different.
Yeah.
Did I finish what I was saying about Billy? He's still on the show. It's weird. They are
He's
insisting,
like in the background all over the place.
Yeah, they're insisting he's a character, but they're not doing anything with him. And it's weird. He is the one that I like. And so I do like that we narrowed it down from like 4 interchangeable Chotches to just the one.
Yeah. I agree.
Dr. C proposed to Hilda. Do we like Dr. C?
I do.
I mean, I like him in the sense the show instructs us to, but I've never trusted him.
Oh, I don't not trust him.
Okay. It was just a thought. I loved the whole carnival, the whole thing.
Yeah, the carnival's great.
So and then episode 4, the Hair Moon. I love it so. That was so cool. I'm super into proper pagan stuff when they were throwing down Ostara's name. I was like, this is cool. And just the musical numbers for no reason. Like, so the witches and the pagans don't really get along. They have conflicts of interests.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were very offended that they like Zelda keeps spiders as like pets, and then Nick like killed a snake, and they got really mad about it.
I was like, Nick.
Well, I mean, I get it too. Obviously, don't do shit like that in front of people that you don't like 100% know their stuff. But also, I was sort of on his side where he was like, it bit one of us. It like harmed one of our coven. Mm-hmm. What was I supposed to do? I like get both sides of it for sure.
The witches have lost power because they're not worshiping Satan anymore. And
Satan's being a real cock about it.
Yeah, Lucifer is what they call him. Have they called him Satan? I don't remember. Probably. I guess Satan was the horned god. Yeah,
well, I think he's the same. I think because they're calling him the Dark Lord and Satan and Lucifer. They've called him all of those things.
But it's like when he looks like Luke Cook, they call him Lucifer. So he's taken the power away. That was interesting notion that his power doesn't come from hell, that all hell powers come from him. Because he is an angel.
Yeah.
That was really interesting. So one of the tactics that they were trying to pull was in order to get their magic back, they were bathing in angel blood, which was blue.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was like shimmery.
Yeah. Well, they got shimmery. Yeah, that was it was more of this, like all of that. This is the shit that I wanted from American Horror Story Apocalypse. And I liked American Horror Story Apocalypse, but
yeah.
I like that we're going to these weird places, and the lunar cake, that's like a thing. And because that's why we put candles on birthday cakes. It goes back to Greek traditions, worshiping Artemis, worshiping the moon. They would put candles around the cake to make it glow like the moon.
Interesting.
And that's where we get modern day birthday candles. But
look at you.
Also, Lucy's mother, she's the little girl that Mrs. Wardwell helped save.
Well, it was Lilith, but yeah.
Right. So Lucy's mother came to visit Mrs. Wardwell, and apparently, I mean, I predict that plot's going somewhere.
Oh, yeah, for sure, because Mrs. Wardwell went to the psychic at the carnival and was like, I'm afraid that my fiance, Adam, that something horrible has happened to him. And she just was like trying to find out like what's actually going on because she has all this lost time and all kinds of stuff. So,
well, the psychic is Circe, so she is absolutely going to turn someone, my guess is Billy, into a pig.
Ooh.
That will absolutely happen.
Yeah, I mean, either Billy or maybe now Nick, because he like wronged them.
That could be.
Yeah.
I was way more excited watching the episode than I feel like I expressed in this recording. I'm kind of hungover, so it's like...
Well, we didn't talk about Caliban. He continues to baffle me a little. Like, I don't know what he wants, and I don't know what his goal is, and I don't know what he's trying to do at any given moment, because I can't stop thinking about how he's so attractive that he's almost ugly.
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre.
And then Nick confronted Lucifer in some fashion, and it appears he's gotten out. Oh, yeah, we didn't cover that at all, actually.
Yeah.
Prudence and Ambrose went to Scotland and found Father Blackwood, and he had somehow time-leapt 15 years.
He like made himself sort of like a time bubble, essentially, where time moved a lot faster, so he could like experience more time. Well, because he was only gone for a couple of months. Like they were only tracking him for a couple of months, but he was gone for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And so they brought him back, and that's he's the Akron prison that Lucifer was in.
Yeah.
And subsequently his kids, Judas and...
Well, it was like...
What were the kids' names?
Well, the girl's name was Letitia, but they called her something different.
He like renamed them.
Yeah.
Letitia was when Zelda stole her.
Okay. Judith, maybe?
Maybe. But
Something
anyways,
like
they're like 16 now, and they are currently living in a dollhouse in Ambrose's room.
Yeah, I forgot how hellish that was.
We were like, why is this so weird? What is wrong with this room?
The fisheye lens is hard with this one. So
it does appear that somehow Lucifer has gotten out.
And like left Nick for dead almost.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Good.
Yeah.
As of especially 3 and especially 4, I feel like this part has taken off. So
yeah, I agree. And we're honestly already halfway done. So we'll see going forward.
Awesome.
All right. I guess we will check in after episode 5 then.
Okay, so we just watched episode 5, The Devil Within, and I decided that we were going to shift to episodic coverage, and then, I'm glad we did, but this wasn't my favorite one.
It's a very middle episode.
Yeah, it was very exposition-y, and we're in a very MacGuffin-y place right now.
Yeah, because they're getting all these like satanic regalia or whatever they're called. They're like having to collect these things, and so Sabrina and Caliban are like in a, fight to the death apparently for all these like items that were at one point very important.
Well, I think that's the part that's one of the parts I'm enjoying the most. I think it's because I'm actually familiar with the regalia.
Well, sure, but that's why it's so MacGuffin-y.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these things are so important.
At this point, I feel like too many things are happening because it's like we're losing power because we don't worship Satan anymore, and now there's pagans that want to kill us, and also Lucifer wants to kill us, and now other witches want to kill us, and it's
okay, yes, I agree with you, because where we stand right now, I guess where we stood at the beginning of the episode is the pagans from the carnival want to kill the witches. Lucifer wants to kill the witches. Lilith is still very like
question mark
in the middle, but like Nick still has Satan's residue inside him. Ambrose is like the only one holding anything together by the literal skin of his teeth. Sabrina is like the most in love with Nick that any person has ever been in love with anybody, and it's just like, you're right, all of these things. Theo is jumping into all that life has to offer. Eyes closed, head first, can't lose. And it just is like, it's so much is happening. Roz is still a statue. Dorcas is still a statue. Yeah. Agatha is crazy. Elspeth is dead again. It just is like this. There really is literally so much going on in a way that like
I could use easily 3 of those things to be gone.
Totally. And like previous
Helga's turning into a spider.
Yeah, Hilda's turning into a spider. Zelda continues to never listen to Hilda. It just is like very previous seasons were not this jam-packed full of like so many different things occurring at the same time. And it is starting to feel a little bit muddled where like until I was just listing all that stuff, I had forgotten half of it. So I'm very like, I'm loving it because it's still Sabrina and I love all these characters and it's a super lot of fun. But at the same time, I'm like, you could pull back like 40%.
I was hoping the 8-episode order was going to mean streamlining, but it appears that no, they're just smashing all of it into.
Yeah, it really is just like a real big fun mess.
Because also don't forget that they somehow, sans magic, had the time and the ability to dig up an entire henge.
Yeah, a whole circle of standing stones.
Transport it. Why they couldn't just go to where it is, I don't know. Why did they have to bring it? Like, I would have just accepted somewhere in the woods where we haven't been yet, there's a henge.
Yeah, well, it very specifically is somewhere that we've been before because it's where Sabrina almost had her dark baptism. They did say that. But I don't understand. Like, maybe the stones have to be, like, out of the ground. But even still, why did you bring them all the way back to the school?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the weird part.
The Hilda, I realized I called her Helga. It's Hilda. That is one of the more truly upsetting things I've ever seen.
I know, it's awful. And like, I didn't see Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark on purpose because I saw the poster and was like, no, thank you.
I actually kind of wanted to see that one, but we like Hilda and thus Lucy Davis so much that I don't want to see her this way.
No, I know, it's awful.
And, I mean, it certainly is in character for Zelda, but I don't know how Zelda did not notice that.
Well, I mean, in like total complete fairness, Zelda does have a lot on her mind.
That's
However, she never pays attention to Hilda unless it's to berate her for something. Even still, even when they've made like a type of peace between them and they're in a much better relationship than they were at like the very beginning of season 1, Hilda's problems are never important to Zelda. Mm-hmm. And so she literally is like, look at the gaping wound on my face. And Zelda's like, oh God, the problems that we have.
Everyone has problems, Hilda.
Exactly. And it's very frustrating because we've talked so much about how we actually love Miranda Otto on this show in a way that we don't usually, and specifically in Lord of the Rings. And it's like, I wish she was exhibiting like a Scotchborg growth.
I'm going to hope that maybe that things are bad now so that they can get better. Do you know what I mean? Of course.
And it's because of the way that the Dark Lord is affecting everyone else. It is absolutely possible that he is affecting Zelda in the most insidious way because she is technically still his wife. Mm-hmm. So there is always that as well.
There actually, frankly, is so much to talk about because you nailed it all when you rattled off that
the grocery
laundry list.
Yeah.
I almost said grocery list too. Anne very specifically wanted us to pronounce Golgotha the right way, and I don't know what the right way is because in my church we didn't call it that. We called it Calvary. So
Anne wanted us to pronounce it correctly?
She messaged me. She said, please make sure you pronounce Golgotha the right. Is it Golgotha? I don't know. I'm sorry, Anne. We called it Calvary.
I've been to Catholic Mass like maybe 5 times in my life, and I'm not sure any of the sermons were about that.
It's where Jesus was crucified.
No, I know, but I just don't know that it was ever mentioned.
This whole episode was odd because what was the weird passion play? Like, it was back in time.
So yeah, she went
eternal?
back through she went back through like a time stone, but then it was, according to Lilith, like you could get caught in a time loop, which Caliban did for 2,000 years because he's apparently made of clay. Did we know that?
Yeah, they established that. I meant to mention it early on because it felt like one of those like, that's going to come back.
So he's like a golem then.
Maybe. Or, well, I mean, Adam was made out of clay.
Okay.
I think. Mud, right?
Well, real Adam wasn't, but then Lilith made like a fake Adam.
No,
after
real
Lucifer.
biblical. Hold on.
Adam. Okay.
That's something that is the thing in religion and mythology.
Okay.
It goes back to that. We've talked about this 2 times, but it's like Genesis is actually really, really weird right off the, like completely right out of the gate because there's 2, like Adam is made twice. Okay. And for some reason, people don't key in on that. In one version, he and Eve are made out of clay, and then like you turn a page and it's like God created Adam and then made Eve from his rib. And so that's the origin of the conspiracy of the origin of Lilith.
Lilith, yeah, because she's the woman made of clay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and this is also, I do have to mention that this is also very confusing for me not only as an agnostic person, but going back and forth between magicians, which is very polytheistic, and this, which is very, very monotheistic and Judeo-Christian.
Well,
I get my shit mixed up because there are multiple golems on the magicians. And so when I hear someone is made of clay, I just immediately go to a golem.
Well, and that is from Jewish, its origins are in Jewish mysticism. But it's like, it's very strange for me because it's like Bible stuff personally is between history and fantasy.
Okay.
It
so
exists.
It's almost like the Arthurian legend. It's like myth.
Kind of. It's like, because I was raised with it, so it's part of my DNA. Like, to an extent, I still believe in a lot of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so I really grapple back and forth. That's why I tend to try and say historically and then mythologic. Like, I try to make distinctions. Because it's like King Herod was a actual historical figure, and he was also a Christian figure. And historically, we're not entirely sure what's real and what's fantasy, because for the better part of humanity, the Bible has been treated as history.
Yeah.
Like up until, 200 years ago or 100 years ago, it's been treated as a history book.
Well, sure. And like, not to get too deep into this conversation, that could be its whole own episode. But like, I believe that Jesus was a real human person. But it's like, once he starts doing magic is where I get into like a spot where I'm like, I can't get all the way there.
And I'm fine with Jesus's magic. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yes, I have a very Sarah Silverman approach to it as well.
But I also feel like we are hurtling at like breakneck speed to this place because I blasphemed literally and metaphorically because there was a crucifix during the Passion Play with a skeleton on it. And I was like, ugh. I was like, it's the kind of thing that it's like, I don't want it, but at a certain point it becomes an elephant in the room where I'm like, okay, Lilith and Lucifer don't have a handle on this, and God seems like a jerk. So is Jesus some way? It just like, I don't want Jesus on this show, but it's like, I have a heart because it is so based in religious. I'm like, how have we not even said the word yet? Like, yeah,
no, I definitely agree. You kind of are like, does the son have to come in and like clean up the mess of the father? Kind of
a little bit. And so, and like I said, I feel like we're hurtling there, and I would warn against it. I'm like, I just don't know, because Jesus worked very, very, very efficiently on American Gods. Yeah. It was like a really great take. And if we did something like that, because this season is giving me hella American Gods vibes.
It really is American Gods season 1, obviously. Yeah. It is doing that for me as well, with like, obviously, an aggressively higher amount of teen angst. But it is very interesting that it's doing that, and like budget-wise and like set design-wise and everything too. But I agree with you. I'm not sure that this show, even if it is like that specific Jesus, who now I can't remember his name, something Davies, Jeremy Davies. Even if he is like that, I can't imagine it totally fitting on this show.
Well, and also that was a brilliant workaround, I think, by having the multiple versions of Jesus, because that way it's like an insulation layer against offending people. Yeah. And so I don't know. It's fascinating. I enjoy it. I want to. You know who I do wish we meet on this show is Mary.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say.
Either of the Marys. That would be interesting.
Like Mary or Mary Magdalene or even like John the Baptist. I could handle like some secondary Jesus characters, but like I don't know if we need Jesus.
Yeah. But either of the Marys, I think, would be extremely welcome presences in a show like this, especially with the feminist angle.
Yeah, especially Mary Magdalene in that case, because this show is all about fallen women in a way that is actually like lifting them all back up, like specifically Lilith, obviously. And so that kind of thing would be, Mary Magdalene would be a very interesting thing for this show to tackle. But again, I'm with you. The direct action of Jesus is something that I'm like not 100% sold on.
I have actually explicitly avoided mentioning the name Once Upon a Time like several times in this conversation already, but I keep coming back to it, where it's like, I feel like we're in that place with Lilith that we get to with Regina, where the show can't decide if she's the hero or the villain.
Sure.
And at this point, I think I am not only fine, but would prefer for her to actually just be heroic, and we can bring in another villain.
Yes, I agree. I do like the grayness, but like in addition to...
She can be cold. I mean, she can be
cold, absolutely. But like in addition to the Regina, I'm also getting some of the like worse vibes from the like dark Emma Swan thing, because I don't want Lilith to keep getting punished for being who she is. And she was terrified at the end of this episode. She was like, Lucifer is loose. He's going to murder me. And I don't like that. They are not actually equals, and they're not well matched.
He's such a likable character.
Yeah.
Luke Cook's portrayal of Lucifer is so charming and charismatic that abusive ex-husband is not going, that's a clash. Do you know what I mean?
The problem is that he's not in Luke Cook's body right now.
Also,
and so
yes.
Father Blackwood is capable of that. That Father Blackwood as an abusive ex-husband works.
Let's just say pandemonium isn't just a place in hell.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in chaos right now.
Yeah. So that's the thing where I just am like, I don't want her to be punished for like being the strong woman that she is, and it feels like it's really going to come down to that again, which would be the third time it came down to that in this show already.
Again, we're very much at a midway point with a show that has pretty consistently earned our trust. So
for sure, yeah.
I was watching the episode and I was just kind of like, honestly, I was kind of filled with anxiety, and I thought it was because I was hungover, but then I was like, also, no, the show is...
No, I'm legit anxious.
And I mean, you mentioned Elspeth is dead for the third time. I mean, I'm just...
Yeah, I was going to say, when you said that, I was like, she has died before, hasn't she?
At least once, if not twice. I thought, yeah.
She was stabbed like directly through the neck this time, so I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't like her, but
she was a nice character to just have in the background all the time.
Well, I was at the point where I'm like, clearly she's not going anywhere, so I was warming up to her. I feel like I just decided to give her a chance, and then she was taken from us. And also, you called her Pansy Pinkerton.
Pansy Parkinson.
I do that every time. And that's a character that nobody likes, but is sometimes necessary.
Yeah.
Melvin made it, though.
I guess.
Well, he made it to where they are. I was like trying to wrap up, and we still have so much to cover.
I know, it's ridiculous. This episode, I'm definitely, you were like, this episode was just okay. And I was like, I mean, so much did happen, though.
Yeah. They got the residue out of that. You guys, you actually pleaded like it was like a cry for help. And you were like, can we call it anything else? And
literally anything else than the Dark Lord's residue.
That's one of the things that I admire most about the show, is how much it actually just commits. Like,
no, of course, but like, and I know that is like the point they're trying to make, and it is the innuendo they're trying to make, but it just sounds like Lucifer came inside.
Yeah.
Nick.
And he hasn't gone to the bathroom yet. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like, who? It's so much. It's so much.
This is the kind of show where someone would use the word ejaculation to mean like
sure,
bursting out, to mean exclamation.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that about the show, because, hey, language is there. We might as well use it. Like,
yeah.
But so they tuned the stones.
Well, they were trying to, but it didn't totally work because Agatha got loose and broke one.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were trying to like call power from.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to call power from other witches, which is why Gryla and the other ones showed up at the end. That called to them.
Yeah, I kind of predicted that. I was like, oh, maybe we'll see Gryla again. And also, I was so right about Cersei. I can't believe how specifically, too. I was like, it's going to be Billy, and he's going to be turned into a pig.
Yeah, you really were right there with it.
Well, because she did things other than pigs. I think she did other animals, but the pig one, But
it was definitely all livestock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it does appear that they are them, that they are ancient.
they are at least their namesakes.
Yeah, like Pan is several thousand years old, and Pan. And I do kind of think it's interesting that they did go the CAOS route with him, that he drove Agatha insane by the merely looking at his face, which didn't happen to Roz. So,
well, Roz has like the cunning, and I think that's like a cushion.
But that's like I feel like we'll get Maenads, you know.
Oh, could be. That could be fun.
And frankly, that feels very much like Sabrina, because the Maenads would party, so they would party to a point of insanity where they would tear people limb for limb.
Yeah.
So, if True Blood taught us anything. But
Teen Wolf also with that sounds a lot like Merblurkers.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, pour one out for Shoshana from season 4 of Magicians.
Yeah. Oh, I liked her. I forgot how much I liked her.
She was great.
Yeah.
So the witches showed up. They heard the call and showed up, and now also want to kill the coven. I don't really know why. I guess because they summoned them without asking, I guess.
Yeah, but is that not what a summoning is? Like, please come to our aid? Because she literally said, you summoned us without permission or without something. And I was like, but...
Well, I guess by that point, it was more of a manifestation. Like, they pulled them through
So
space.
It almost was like a force. Okay, that makes sense. But that was like not 100% clear.
Because maybe Ambrose he didn't get to finish the spell. So
right. Okay, so it just sort of forced them through time and space. That is fine. And if they're mad about that, that's fine. But, okay.
And it also does appear that Robin does actually have feelings for Theo, and
which is nice because poor Theo is
someone
like
needs
I said,
a break.
Someone needs a break, and poor Theo is literally, like I said, just diving into life head first. And I kind of love it and think it's the cutest thing in the world. And I am also so concerned for his tender heart.
Mm-hmm. I forgot to mention in our last recording that when Theo was telling Harvey about Robin, Harvey was like, the guy with the cool hair.
Yeah.
And something about that was so charming to me and so funny that Harvey Keaton, because I realized later it was green, but he was wearing the goddamn hat and
then
a
he
red
didn't
hat.
have horns.
A red hat, which is bold.
That is like a trigger now.
Yeah,
a red baseball cap is definitely a trigger now.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw one and I was like, okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I like that more often than not. Theo has these scenes with Harvey now because I love the notion that Sabrina exists in. Well, I mean, it doesn't really, because the jocks are obviously terrible, but I love that the good guys in this show exist in a universe where, like, Harvey as a not like aggressively straight white guy, but like he is like a standard straight white guy. I love that he is so supportive of Theo, and I love that is the message the show is sending. That's what I like a lot, is that Harvey specifically has no qualms about Theo's transition and the fact that he likes boys. I really, really like that. I think it's very cute and very good and like a positive message.
It was really funny when Billy and I spoke too soon, the other three Chachas showed up again in this episode. But they were at Dr. Cerberus's being dicks to Robin, and Will, your husband, just out of nowhere goes, "Have they learned nothing?" And he goes, "And in this exact same spot." Like it's
literally the comic section of Dr. C's, the exact spot that they picked on Theo and got what for.
And so Theo showed up and was like, back off, and they did. And I was like,
leave my friend alone. I weigh 90 pounds.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so they did learn. I was like, they just learned a very specific lesson.
The only lesson was don't mess with Theo specifically.
Because Robin even said something to him, and he was like, yeah, they kind of answered to me.
Yeah.
It was very funny. I feel silly for being as invested in Billy as I am, but
well, I would think you should feel silly, except for they keep like spotlighting all of these moments that I feel are significant.
Well, and the actor is also kind of sweet. Like, even we get the notion that he's one of the jocks and that the jocks are bullies, but it was like that scene where they were all just standing around talking about going to the carnival, and the actor was playing him like kind of like maybe ignorant, like maybe kind of like not stupid, but like Like, maybe he doesn't think everything through,
Sure.
but he seems kind of lovable in a weird, I don't know.
I definitely agree. He does feel slightly like the asshole jock who's never been challenged. And so as he is challenged more, his heart of gold comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they're doing only like
a quarter of that.
Well, I was going to say like 55% of the work that they need to be doing if that's the way they're going for it.
Mm-hmm. So, can you think of anything else that we need to cover?
I mean, they did get the Dark Lord's residue out of Nick, but he still does not want to be with Sabrina because he feels he's like tainted forever and he can't like he needs space. And Sabrina, it was a more heart-wrenching breakup than when she broke up with Harvey in a way that I was like, this feels a little like too much.
Well, remember that one when her and Harvey went in circles?
Yeah.
This wasn't exactly like that, but it was like a companion to that one where, because that one, it was very like, yes, no, yes. And it was very rabbit season, duck season, remember?
Well,
and like,
well, for me, it's like, I guess I don't 100% remember the timeline of season 2, but like, it feels like she's been dating Nick for like less than half the time she dated for Harvey. And half the time she's been dating Nick, he was in hell or like possessed by the residue of her father. So I'm just sort of like, how do you love him so much that you're willing to give up hell? And then that goes even into a different arena because she literally was like, I'll give up hell for you, I swear. And she was like doing all these things for him and he was like, I can't ask you to do that and I can't blah. And I was like, good Lord, this is Jon Snow and Daenerys all over again. Where it's like, am I only your queen? And it's just like, good Lord, what are you actually trying to accomplish with this? Because she was like, I'll give it all up for you. I'll give it all up. And then it almost was like, how dare you ask me to give things up for you? And I just was like, what? It doesn't make any. It's like the writers write themselves in circles at some points.
Okay, well, we'll see. We've got three left.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this riddles itself out. Jen did warn me that it was kind of frustrating. Okay. And then she said, and then like at the end something happens and it's like amazing. So,
okay, all right.
But she said that it does test you a little bit getting there. So
I mean, that's fair. I enjoy media that like challenges me. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of like how it's challenging me. And I'm, despite the like criticisms, I'm obviously still loving this show. It's so fun. Everything about it is like right up my alley, but there are things. No, I'm definitely not bored. There just are things where I'm like, are you sure that's the move you were trying to make? Mm-hmm. And that's like my thing right now. So, but yeah, we'll check back in after episode 6.
Okay, cool.
Bye.
That was All of Them Witches.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know where to start. It was good.
Yeah. It was doing a lot of things, though.
Yeah, a lot. I was able to keep track, but...
Okay.
Because as you recall, we thought the previous episode did too many things.
Yeah.
So there were the witches. That's probably the best place to start. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite part of the show, is when they do stuff like this. We brought back Gryla, who I still think... Did I mention that in our last recording? I think she should have been a stunt cast. Like, I'm there's no reason why that's not Daryl Hannah. You know what I mean? Like, but
because I said, or even Kristen Bauer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But we met, there was a couple more witches, in particular, Pestia and Sycorax, which Pestia is like a disease, like pestilence witch, and Sycorax is a river witch, not a sea witch. And I asked Jen if we were getting mermaids, and she was like, no. And I was like, while not a traditional mermaid, I was like, that is more mermaid than not.
Yeah, she's something, at least.
Yeah, she looks like a catfish.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, Esmene, the naiad from Magicians.
Yeah.
And then Mambo Marie, who is one of the best characters in the show right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. She is doing, like, the most accent, though.
It's like a parody.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, this actress is from Chicago.
I'm surprised she's not, well, she was Marie LaFleur, who is different than Marie Laveau, but I think it's interesting. Basically, Prudence invited Mambo Marie separately from the other witches, so the other witches were a bit more hostile, and continuing the trend, Prudence and Ambrose are the only characters that are actually accomplishing anything.
Yeah, they are, like, I mean, Sabrina is trying to get things accomplished, but, like, you're right. Prudence and Ambrose are, like, the problem with, or the thing about Prudence and Ambrose is that they are just doing it, and Sabrina is, like, approaching everything by, like, getting it voted on by committee. And it's, like, Prudence and Ambrose are taking direct action in a way that's very satisfying.
They're thinking outside of the box, and that's apparently what we need right now, because it's like this so far has been, and it's not bad. I am still enjoying this, but this has been my least favorite handling of the ants, because I don't understand what exactly Zelda, like, she's trying to, and the show is trying to have its cake and eat it too, in a lot of different ways, where it's like, why would she have not accepted Lilith's help when Lilith came asking for sanctuary?
I sort of feel like whatever's happening to Hilda and Zelda is also like the pagans, like, because Zelda didn't even know that something was wrong with Hilda. And I think the pagans have sort of, like, infiltrated her brain also, but there's been no indication of that, so I'm not sure.
Because what was happening with Hilda? How come we could only see it sometimes?
I think she was putting on a glamour.
Okay. And she was just running out of, like, magic.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it was interesting when, like, Dr. C caught her reflection, and you could even see... Yeah, okay, yeah. She's putting on... that checks now. But truly, truly upsetting.
Yeah, it's awful. Poor Hilda.
Yeah, I don't like it. She ate a serpent. A South Side serpent.
Which is fine. Well, and then presumably she sent Dr. C to go get milkshakes from Pops. Which I just am like, this is, like, the most overlap of content that we've had so far, and still, it's like Archie hasn't turned up being a golden retriever in some capacity.
Well, like I said, that's not in the books yet.
Yeah.
We'll probably get it at some point, but
hopefully.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm not done with the Lilith thing, because I don't want to be redundant. We've gone at length about how some of this doesn't quite
And
gel.
the thing is I think it's going to balance out somehow, but, like, when you're in the midst of it, it's very frustrating when your characters are, like, doing, like, the exact opposite of what you think they would be doing in that instance.
Yeah, and I mean, because Zelda turned Lilith away, and that almost single-handedly led to her Zelda being shot at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely do think they're heading in the direction that I think that they need to, because we already I don't think we mentioned it on any of our coverage, but you, for like 2 episodes, have been secretly hoping for maybe like a redemption arc for Caliban. Hilariously just wearing jeans and a t-shirt now. I don't...
Yeah, he just looked like he like wandered off to That 70s Show lot.
With a French tuck. I was like, okay.
But, okay, here's the thing. Because I think he's ridiculous. And his face and his body are absurd. But I am always interested in, like a shithead guy that, like, ends up kind of being a hero.
Well, we're dealing with a True Blood season 6, which I shudder to speak, because it was like, remember when that, like, fairy prince came in and was, like, trying to convince her to be a fairy queen, and we were like, there's no downside to this. Why are you... And she, through some mental acrobatics, made him into a bad guy, and they killed him.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no downside to this, Sabrina. Like...
Yeah, just
marry Caliban, like, and go be Queen of Hell. And
she just is still in love with Harvey and Nick.
Well, I mean, maybe not anymore, because she burned the candle at the end. But
I'm not sure how much Prudence actually has her back right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, you think Prudence set her up?
Well, I don't know for sure, but like she was being very prudent when she was telling her how to do that spell.
Oh, okay. Because I fell for it. I was like, I loved that she was like, what is going on with you two? And I mean, I thought she was kind of telling Sabrina the truth and nothing but the truth. But
So look, if it works, then fine. I'm wrong, but like I'm not convinced she was doing the good thing.
Mm-hmm. Because I did, I'm back to hating Nick Scratch again. It's just like, I loved when Sabrina told him off in this episode, because she was like,
Yeah, it was great.
She called him like a narcissist. And
yeah, which he absolutely is, dramatic and a narcissist, but he does seem legitimately remorseful. So I still really like him as a character. I'm not necessarily sure he needs to continue being a love interest, but now that the Dark Lord's out of him and he had his like tantrum, I think he feels properly remorseful, but I'm undecided going forward. So
Caliban called, was it a permanent truce, or he's the one that proposed they go ahead and get married and rule hell.
They can rule hell together, and then he'll like help her with whatever.
Because he appeared to be on board with some form of reformation, because she finally said work together with heaven, which is, I was like, okay, this feels like we're finally addressing some of my issues with the show as a whole. I was really annoyed with the Pygmalion stuff at first, because they were talking about how like he made like a woman out of clay and then prayed to gods. And I was like, well, it's Aphrodite. I was like, it was a statue of Aphrodite. And then Aphrodite herself turned. I was like, what is with the Aphrodite erasure in pop culture? And they finally did acknowledge.
Said it.
Yeah, they said the thing.
They said the thing.
Which, again, I was like, so Aphrodite exists in this world.
Yes, presumably.
I mean, I think it's fair to assume that most gods, like pagan gods, would be somewhere in some form in a world like this. So
yeah, well, and they literally called the Pan, they called him the old god Pan. He apparently is the real Pan.
Yes, but I don't think that's Medusa, because they said they have a
She's
Gorgon.
A Gorgon.
Yeah. And there's two versions that I'm familiar with. There's the Medusa one that we know, and there's one where there are three of them. It's three sisters, and all three of them are hideous.
Interesting.
And so I don't know if this is maybe one of Medusa's sisters.
In one of the other episodes, she has a name.
It was like Nagini,
something like that. It was not quite that, but it was very similar, yeah.
It seems to be a mixture of things in an interesting way that I really like. And I liked when the other witches got involved. And I thought the notion, because technically I was thrown when Zelda called Mambo Maria Catholic, but I was like, voodoo is rooted in Christianity, like in a weird warped version of it. And I was like, so that is interesting. And I really liked that's, especially when I think it was Gryla, or no, it was Marie. She was like, we're not men. She was like, we're women, and let's handle this. Like, let's not go to war, you know? And I thought that was good. And I loved how they channeled all of their stuff into Sabrina. And it's weird to me that the pagans are so bad. I'm kind of like, because I thought that I was thinking that the witches and the pagans were going to end up uniting against Lucifer.
Yeah, and I don't really think so now.
They really came in like to fuck shit up. It appears, and they're trying to build the Green Man, which is kind of like one of the first gods. They're trying to resurrect him. So, I mean, I'm very interested to keep going, and I heard from people that it does continue. It gets better. So, I mean, I don't think that Hilda's dead, but I also don't think Zelda's plan was foolproof.
Well, so when I saw somebody, because I didn't realize it was Mrs. Wardwell at first, I saw somebody like looking at her, burying her in the Cain plot, and I was like, oh my god, if this is one of the pagans and they ruin their Cain plot. But then it was just regular Mrs. Wardwell, and I was like, so I don't necessarily think that Zelda's plan is foolproof, but I mean, it's always worked before. Yeah,
but wouldn't she still be a spider? Like, why would she just be magically fixed? Because she died and the curse is broken?
Maybe it's just like a reset, yeah.
Okay. And then furthermore, Zelda is now shot, and I mean, you can come back from that. Again, I don't think we're losing Zelda either, but the Mary Wardwell stuff, I don't know that this is how I would have done it. It's making sense.
Yeah.
But again, Zelda's own short-sightedness kind of.
Agreed.
contributed.
It was nice to see Alexis Denisoff again, but to what end, kind of?
So it does appear that Lilith has separated Lucifer from Blackwood.
Well, she just put Lucifer to sleep, I think, so she could talk to Father Blackwood. I think she still has to do the separation.
They're gonna fuck.
Of course.
Because she said it was carnal in a way that he was very familiar with. So she's going to fuck the devil out of him, which I buy.
Sure. I mean, who else could, you know?
Michelle Gomez, yeah. Yeah, man, there really was a lot. So I'm jumping all over, but that's how the episode was. The Pygmalion thing, that part didn't work because apparently Harvey is not in love with Roz, which I was going to mention that earlier and it just got away from me, but I was going to be like, I don't have any problem with Harvey and Roz, but I'm not invested in it. It doesn't feel long term.
Yeah, me too. And it just, that's the thing is like so many, like even Robin at one point was like, I'm falling in love with Theo. And I was like, dude, it's been like a day, like one single day. And you were a traitor until 8 hours ago. It's like a lot of that. Like it's very similar to what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode with Nick and Sabrina. And she was like, I love you more than anything, Nick. And I was like, you've been dating for like a minute. When did all of this occur? It's just that's when the high school jumps out.
Yeah, I think Robin is newer. I don't think he's Puck. I don't think he's...
No. Yeah. I'm not saying that he's too old to fall in love with Theo. I'm just saying...
I don't think he has that eon, like thousands of years of history with the pagans. I think that...
No, I agree. I understand what you're saying, and that doesn't apply to what I'm saying. It's still too soon for him to be in love with Theo.
Maybe the love, but I believe his wanting to cut and run. I believe his...
yes, I believe that for sure. That part I have no qualms. Because he literally was like, they want to do like a massacre, and I'm not down for that. And that's fair. It's just all the like teenage love stuff where I'm like, really? Like, did we have to?
And I guess the last thing, we covered a lot, but I guess the last thing is that Mambo Marie is helping the twins, Judas and Judith, and they're kind of trying to deprogram them from 15 years of Father Blackwood.
Yeah.
And it seems like it might be going well. And Prudence and Ambrose are getting to a very ride or die place.
They really are, which I'm fine with. I wish we had gotten a little bit more of Ambrose with dudes before we like really settled him down with Prudence, but I mean, this could also still be like a kind of passing fancy, so it doesn't. I'm not like bummed about it, but
I don't really mind that much. I'm still kind of butthurt because I thought Luke was done so dirty.
Yeah, he was.
So that just kind of hurts my feelings, but
yeah, agreed.
This kind of show is the kind of show where people could come back via magical ways, so we never know.
Yeah,
but
100%.
I just don't think, especially now with considering how good he's doing with Prudence, I don't think people are trying to bring Luke back. But
yeah.
And then lastly, Munsters or Addams Family.
I don't have enough experience with either.
Well, it goes
I
two
can't
ways.
choose.
If it's which one is better, I would say Addams Family.
Okay.
But if it's which one do you want to live in, it's Munsters, hands down.
Okay.
Because there's reprieve from the Munsters in a way that there's not in Addams Family.
Okay, that's fair.
So if I'm going into the story, Munsters. But if it's Coke or Pepsi, then it's Addams Family.
Gotcha. All right.
I guess I'm ready to talk about this. It's going to sound, I feel like, just heads up, it's going to sound like I didn't like it. And I didn't. No, I'm kidding. I liked it fine.
Like, we talked a little bit at lunch and you felt okay.
No, I liked it fine. But I can't wait for more. But it just kind of, by the time it was over, I was a little bit like, I don't know if that's how I would have done. Oh, okay.
I agree. I agree with that sentiment.
Oh, Will, I don't know if you can hear me. Because I was yelling to Will in the other room. The premiere of Part 4 of Sabrina is called The Eldritch Dark.
Oh. I could hear him.
he was mad that they threw the word eldritch down several times and he didn't get one tentacle.
Yeah.
Okay, we went ahead and watched the last two because we just did not have time to break it down. And also there was a point at the end of episode 7 where you very astutely were kind of like, I feel like this is all going to get undone. So
yeah, it was very, I mean, you know, I guess we could get into full spoilers for the end of 7, but it was like, there was a moment like 5 minutes from the end of episode 7 where literally everybody except for Sabrina was dead. And I was like, oh, I don't think that's going to hold up. And it didn't. So.
I liked a lot of things that we did this season. I liked a lot of the characters. I liked a lot of the progression. I didn't necessarily like how they did it. It was too convoluted. It was so I could not explain to you what happened in these 2 episodes if you were to offer me like $5,000. I wouldn't be able to.
Well, we did get into some time travel and time loops and time paradoxes. So we did get into a point where like I need to start drawing on a Pictionary board for a minute, but I tend to agree with you, and the way that I'm able to like not worry about that is I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this is a show about magic. They can do time travel. That's all I need to know.
We're getting to places where we're going to lose the stakes.
Okay.
Like, because several people have died and come back now, so there are no stakes. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. I think what you're building to is that we need to get to a magician's place where someone actually dies.
And I don't necessarily want that. And, you know, we ended... I'm assuming, I'm just going to go ahead and assume if you're listening to this that you watched it. So we're just going to talk about the stuff that happened and not chronicle it. But to bring back my hashtag justice for Dorcas, it's kind of like we end with her and like Elspeth dead. Elspeth is sort of whatever.
Yeah.
It's that thing that you've told me with storytelling where it's like, if you're going to kill people off, you need to kill some. Like if you kill 1 or 2 people, it feels mean.
Yes. And that's the thing, because when Will and I were watching episode 7, at that point we believed Dr. C was dead and that was it for a minute. And Will was like, I'm actually going to be so furious. And I was like, me too. What a weird way to kick Hilda when she's down. Like, horrible.
And they just barely scratched the surface of
him and them and everything. And so then, like, other people started dying. And then by the time that everybody was dead, I was like, everybody's not going to be dead. And he was like, sure, but they have to make a convincing argument for why they brought back the people they brought back and why they let certain people die. And then we were at a point in episode 8 where everybody was brought back to life. And I was like, oh, well, they just brought back everybody. And Will was like, Dorcas is still dead. And I was like, you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. And
I was furious.
I was too. And especially for it to happen, I don't think it really served a purpose. And also on top of that, it's a wedge that drove Prudence and Ambrose apart, which we're not there yet. Nobody was chomping for that. And it was off screen. And on top of that, if we're going to tap her out, fine. I want her back. But it's like, if we're going to tap her out, you already did a better job with her being turned to stone 1 episode before.
Exactly.
I think it would have been hysterical for like half a season if she was just in Prudence's bedroom.
Statue. Yeah.
Yeah. It felt very chasing the tail, where it was like, we just brought her back just to kill her again. And also, I mean, what about, because I thought her and Melvin had a thing, and Melvin didn't die. You know what I mean? It just kind of, that's a very me observation, but it's like the Weird Sisters are also my brand, and you too. I mean, you.
Yeah, I love the Weird Sisters, and I also, I mean, I'm a sucker for a redhead, so obviously Dorcas was my favorite besides Prudence. But
her name's Dorcas. That's hilarious.
That also is hilarious, and she just like she had that bitchy quality that we love in our redheads, like Cheryl Blossom and Lydia Martin. And it just, I didn't get enough Dorcas to like justify her being dead now. So like, it's, you know what it's just like Roz from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's useless and it's pointless, and it's a character that you hadn't even begun scratching the surface of.
from there, I want to, because, okay, I love new shit. I always love new shit. And my favorite parts of this season were the new stuff that they brought in. However, you cannot bring new stuff in at the expense of the people that you had. Right. And from what we've seen so far of this part, I think that Hilda was kind of not sidelined, but she felt kind of like an afterthought in a lot of ways. I didn't enjoy her spider plot. And I mean, I don't think we're necessarily supposed to enjoy it, but
yeah, I mean, it's like hellish on purpose. I tend to agree that we're not really supposed to enjoy it, but still, I know it can't be because they're making this show and they hired Lucy Davis on purpose, but like, I feel like they don't know what they have with Lucy Davis. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're kind of taking advantage of her in a way that I'm like, or I guess taking advantage of her presence, but like not taking advantage of her as an actress. So it's like both ways. But I really feel like there's more to her. Like the scene where she goes to like get her revenge on Cersei. It's not that I need her to be more ruthless all the time, but that was infinitely more interesting than just letting her be like a nice, good person.
Well, yeah. And I
like that she has that darkness in her, and I feel like we don't get it enough.
Yes, but I didn't like it that way because I was having a fundamental issue with the fact that the pagans were so against the witches.
Sure.
That didn't make sense to me, and so I was waiting. Like, I'm fine that they killed, like, her name was not Medusa. It was something like Nagini.
Nagaina, something like that.
Yeah. I was fine when we got to see it, and it was nice. Yeah. I didn't feel cheated out of her like full form.
Sure.
I'm fine with them killing off her and Pan and the others, and stuff. But Robin Goodfellow jumped sides. I really expected Cersei to, and I don't know why. I just thought, I mean, for starters, she's ancient. It's like an ancient goddess. And I thought she was going to end up coming to their side. And so when it didn't go that way, I was very like, huh. But it's like I had made up how I make up my mind about things.
Sure, yeah.
And so some of that, it felt strange to me. Like I would not have done the pagans that way. And I don't know if it's because, as I've mentioned several times, that I'm aware of paganism as a religion itself, that I kind of rejected to them being turned into cartoon villains. But
yeah, I mean, it was a little strange, especially because we did 2 full seasons of, actual, like, Father Blackwood and a little bit Lilith, and then, like, actual Satan being the villain. And then we sort of sidelined all 3 of those villains to have a new villain who we'd never met before, and we were just supposed to assume was terrible.
Yeah, because that brings us to the whole Hecate thing, which, again, I loved. But there was twofold. There was a part of me that was like, where has this information been all this time?
Right.
And the second thing was also, who do they think Hecate is? Because Hecate is an old god. She's a Greek goddess. And so it was like, is she not pagan? Like...
Well, no, I think... Well, because Hellenic religions are different than that. Like, they're not pagan.
Are they? Because Pan...
Well... Yeah, I don't know.
So it's the overall issue. I guess I am taking this show because it's using both mythology and Christianity. I'm taking it so seriously.
Sure. I mean, I get that. And I think, to be honest, it's sort of the way that they're using Satanism, which is to their own end. Like they're not doing it realistically. They're doing it to suit the story they're trying to tell.
So I think that's the problem, is it's like, for me, there's eons. I mean, there's thousands of years of mythology based upon this. And so I sort of revere it. Even I don't know, Medusa, even the made up shit. I'm kind of like, yeah, but you need to pay her respect. You know what I mean?
Sure. Like, yeah, like keep her name out your mouth.
Kind of a little bit. But I'm like, put her name in your mouth, but do it right.
But do it right, yeah.
And they definitely didn't do it wrong. They just, to quote myself from earlier, I was very kind of like, I don't know if that's how I would, okay. So
I can definitely agree with you. The thing for me about Sabrina is it's honestly the thing for me with like lots of shows is because a lot of times you're like, that's not the way I would have done it. And once I think about it, I'm like, I guess I wouldn't have done it that way either. But while I'm watching it, I don't have any concept of how I would have done it because I'm just watching the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't get that on my end.
So this is my version of watching the movie to a book I've read, because I have very specific notions in my mind of how things should be treated.
That's probably a good comparison.
Because I liked The Green Man. You have to consider that, like, shameless self-promotion. It's like my whole life I've wanted to tell stories, make movies, write books, what have you. Mm-hmm. And so I've been going through this material in my own mind for decades. Like, I have a version in my mind. Hecate is a character in my upcoming book. You know what I mean? And so for me, there's a way that I'm kind of like, I don't. Well, you're not doing the way that I think you should, and
right.
And so I end up taking it a little bit more personally than I think the average viewer does. But having said all of that, they're still giving this to me in a way that no one else is. And,
precisely.
And it does not feel like they don't give a fuck. Like there was the
in
production
fact, they might
was
even
there.
Give too many
Much
fucks.
of a fuck. Yeah. I said several times in our earlier coverage that this show, my biggest problem with the show is a very have your cake and eat it too. It's like it's trying to be two things. And I actually think it's hysterical that that's literally how they ended this.
For sure. And it didn't even occur to me. Ambrose's like reasoning didn't even occur to me. I just was like, hey, sweet. I was like, Sabrina found a workaround. And he was like, you made a time paradox. And I was like, oh, fuck, she did, didn't she?
I do love that there's all different kinds of characters and good characters and bad characters and awful characters and stuff. And so it's like, Sabrina's kind of awful. She's not Archie awful, but
I think she's reaching those peaks a little.
Well,
she's getting there.
She has hubris.
She has a fuckload of hubris. She also, like, she doesn't have a lot of forethought. She just, like, does the thing and just assumes she'll be forgiven because she always has before. And it's like, eventually that's going to stop working.
I saw a tweet and it was like Prudence and then Pam from True Blood. Yeah. And it was like characters who weren't wrong to hate the hero on their show.
Yeah, for sure.
We're in a very season 1 of True Blood, Sookie Stackhouse place with Sabrina, and verging on season 2 occasionally, which that is a drop in quality.
It's a huge drop in quality. Like, I'm waiting for her to tenderly give up her virginity to Nick, and while all the time calling him Nicholas Scratch, his full name. And I just am like, good Lord, I can't handle it.
So she is currently both the Queen of Hell and high school student Sabrina Spellman, and her Queen of Hell thing, that was a roller coaster, because we show her getting into her like regalia, and I was like, ooh, I love this, and then I was like, ooh, I hate this, and I was like, oh, I kind of love this, and I was like, no, and then by the end I was like, okay, I'm fine with that.
I'm kind of with you. I wish that it would have stopped at the gold trimmed black. The like very first thing, and then they put her in like a full Elizabethan gown, and I was like, I'm confused about why. I don't hate it, but I'm confused about why.
Well, by the time we were all there, I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was like, it all works with the throne and everything, and again, round of applause for not doing the bare minimum. Like that set was great. The production design was great. So much of it, the handmaidens had like There's a thing about like open chest cavity in this show. It's like a running theme where it's like the dark, like Satan, when he's the goat, he has like, it's like his ribs are broken open. And it was on the statues and it was on the handmaidens. They had like metal ornamentation sticking out from the front. And it was like they were kind of like autopsy. And it's all very interesting. And it was pretty. It was like jewels and stuff. Although I wouldn't have hated if Lilith had another gown or two. She wore the same one the whole time.
She wore the same thing the whole time, especially when, for the first 2 seasons, Mrs. Wardwell had fucking, like, open, gaping robes and, you know, tight, sexy dresses coming out her ass. And, like, all of a sudden, she's only wearing that one thing for a whole season. It was a little disappointing.
Yeah. And on that note, Mrs. Wardwell, Mary, was weird. None of that worked for me. I
tend to agree. I mean, I would say never hesitate to give Michelle Gomez more than one role in your TV show, but maybe hesitate to do it exactly like this was done.
Another thing that I actually loved, I feel like a lot of people might have really scoffed or rolled their eyes or whatever, but something I thought was brilliant was the workaround that cheerleaders are basically a coven.
Oh, no, I loved that, too.
That was so funny
great.
To bring them in to do a cheer routine while the few witches that were left were doing a spell and, like, siphoning their energy.
Yeah, it was great. I thought it was hilarious. It was, like, so true, so funny. They were, in the way that she phrased it, too, because she was like, I need a group of girls who can, you know, do the or like young, it was like
sing and dance
girls,
in unison.
Yeah, sing and dance in unison, and I just was like, hilarious. I'm down.
So, and I really liked the other witches. That's the kind of thing where it's like more, and I do mean it. I do mean more, but also make sure that you have taken proper care of what you have.
Totally.
Because that's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit scared that Dorcas is actually just gone, is because if they need to clean house a little bit, I'm like, I don't know that's how I would have done it. But
yeah, but it's also like, so obviously, like, Robin is sticking around, but it was like, I don't need Robin at the expense of Dorcas. And also, in addition to that, in what universe do you think Robin is going to take up so much space we can't keep Dorcas?
Yeah, well, because frankly, I came around on Nick Scratch a lot, but he's also one that I feel like could sit out for a while.
Sure.
So
he's dealing with trauma. He could, like, yeah, absolutely. He could, like, take a trip or something.
I guess there's stuff with Father Blackwood.
Well, he's calling upon the Eldritch Horrors.
Okay, that's what that was. And he has Agatha with him as his, like, handmaiden.
Because she's still bonkers.
Yeah. that part was fun, but
yeah.
I still don't understand how the, like, hinge works, because weren't they just, like, pushing those around at one point? And I was like,
yeah, like it was sort of as if the
I was like, are they on roller skates?
Yeah, I don't know. That was very weird, but I mean, again, this is a show that has magic in it. Is whatever.
And Judith and Judas are still somehow a strange presence in the show, considering we know nothing about them.
Well, they're with Father Blackwood now, too.
And they're still kind of hypnotized and stuff. Oh, yeah. Well, Zelda and Mambo Marie.
Yeah, they started having a little thing.
I saw that coming. Not like a long way, but during that scene, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I'm into it.
I'm way into it. I love that. And I am still very excited. Like, I kind of can't wait for part 4. But
yeah, me too. I think it's
hone it in. Like, pick one thing and work towards that.
Yeah, I agree, because there were too many things happening this season, and I can't stress enough how much I still loved it, because it was super fun to look at. You know, everybody is, like, being their characters. It's great, but there were a couple of points where Ambrose looked like he was on the verge of a nervous breakdown from literally holding the whole thing together by himself, and I was like, I feel ya.
And I don't know if it was the character of Ambrose or the actor Chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but I saw it.
I'm only one man.
Yeah, and I was like, I get it. I'm, like, right there with you. You shouldn't have this weight on your shoulders.
Well, and again, because again, speaking of, like, we don't need more characters, but they bring in Caliban and set up his whole redemption arc and everything. And then are we just done with him? Like,
well, he's still there.
But he's locked in, like, the Judas plot or something.
Yeah, but Sabrina could take him out.
I guess. He betrayed her, though.
That's the thing is, like, I think Queen of Hell Sabrina could find a use for him.
But it asks more questions when Lucifer himself is like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Because I just assumed there was a hierarchy of hell. I assumed there was, like, royal families and stuff. And it was like, Lucifer had never seen him before. And so I was like, so do you get to just proclaim yourself prince? And if you're good looking enough, no one questions it? Like, Can you think of anything else that we need to cover? I feel like there's like 5 things we haven't even.
Well, Theo and Robin for sure had sex.
Okay.
And then Roz and Harvey did at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And and they saved the Gorgon's head, which, good move. And also it's from the storybook.
Because Roz is a smart person.
Yeah.
So at this point, Sabrina is the only remaining virgin on the show.
And she's Queen of Hell.
Which I find funny.
Yeah.
But it's also a little... At this point, I feel like there's been too much made of her virginity.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of am just like, maybe lose it in between seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe let's not make a big deal about this.
Again, have their cake and eat it too. It's like, this is a sexually fluid and free show, but yet it's still this like precious, most sentimental thing.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's just really not.
Well, and Lilith is probably pregnant.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. It feels like she's pulling a Queen Cersei.
Yeah. Well, Cersei was pregnant, though.
Was she?
Yeah. At the end, she was like, my baby.
I think that was a fake.
You think when the castle was falling down upon her, she was keeping up her ruse?
Oh, no, maybe not. Okay, fine.
So, sure. Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Well, mostly we liked Sabrina, but yeah, I would say this also does feel, I would say, like a midpoint of a storyline where we wrapped up a lot, but a lot is still going in a way that we were talking about how the episode production.
We're in a very like 5A, 5B of Teen Wolf place.
Yeah. Exactly like that. So we'll see when season 4 or season 3 part 2 or whatever we want to call it comes back.
Part 4.
Yeah, whatever.
They think it could be like September.
I would imagine it's going to be the fall. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. All right. Well, as always, you can follow us on Twitter at So I'm Watching, Instagram at So I'm Watching This Show. You can also follow along on Patreon with our Riverdale updates every week, and we'll have some more shows coming up soon when 911 comes back.
And
yeah,
maybe some summer stuff.
And then everything links out from our website, soimwatching.com. And other than that, you can rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen. And that's it for us.
Bye.
Bye.
Satan in hell, what am I wearing?